David, I want to come to you, and I want to talk to you from a diaspora Kenyan context. I know this is a service that's targeting African immigrants across the board, but from a Kenyan context, why do you feel that we are underserved in the American banking context? Because you've talked about that a lot, you've written about that. Why do you feel we're underserved as African immigrants are in the US? Because from a personal perspective, I look at banking services as ability to open a checking account in a bank that's maybe close to where I live. But what exactly is it that maybe we are getting underserved on that we might not be realizing?
Okay, David, good question. Yeah. So the traditional banking, the Chase, the Bank of America, and so forth. The groups that they target are not immigrants, and particularly not African immigrants. And this is from experiences that we ourselves underwent while living and working here. So, for example, I've been in the U.S. for a very long time. I came as a student, as an F1 visa. When I came at that particular time, it was very difficult for me to open a bank account. Why? Simply because I didn't have a social security number.
Yes.
So it is very difficult for someone who doesn't have a social security number, which is a big number. Think of the 5.8 million students who are in American universities. 28% of the U.S. students are immigrants. The vast majority of them who come here on F1 visas are not given a social security number. And so they are left to fringe banking or able to open bank accounts in a very difficult way. That was my particular perspective. So just to give you an example, I had a stipend. I was being given a scholarship. So it came with a monthly stipend, which I couldn't cash because I didn't have a bank account. And not only I couldn't cash it, my university was only doing direct deposit. And because I didn't have a place for them to direct deposit the money, I had a very hard time accessing the stipend that was being given. It was only with the relationship that my university had with a small bank that I was able to open a bank account without it, without a social security number. But eventually, I had to actually get a letter from my university to take to the Social Security Administration to give me a social security number, because they had to withhold taxes. So these are conversations that people are having and experiencing on a day-to-day basis. Not just in terms of opening bank accounts, but they actually, when I mean by underserved, I think of someone like my mom who has been banking at Wells Fargo for years, 11 years. And then when it came for her to want to get a mortgage with my dad as parents, they go in, they have a high credit score, but Wells Fargo denies them. No reason behind it. But now you come to find out from the newspaper articles that Wells Fargo was just marginalizing people from not only immigrants, but people of color, and putting them in one particular mold, and they were not giving them mortgages. And these are the challenges that immigrants face when we say that their lack of access to financial services, is that the average immigrant is, even if they have a bank account, sometimes are largely underserved from that particular aspect. And we're coming in and saying, look, we understand your pain points because we are immigrants. We face those particular struggles as immigrants. We know what it is to be denied access to financial services, and we want to do something better. And there are 44 million immigrants in the United States today who are, one way or another, facing these challenges, whether it is access to opening bank accounts or minimum deposit requirements, which 29% of immigrants say is one of the reasons why they don't have proper access to a bank account, is because they can't meet the minimum deposit requirements. We're coming and saying, we'll make it easier for you to open an account. You can do that in 2 to 3 minutes on our platform. We do not need minimum deposit requirements. And even later on down the line, within a few months, being able to say, hey, nyinyi watu ambao wana makaratasi and people without SSNs, you can now actually open a bank account on our platform using a different form of ID, like your passport or your driving license, and you don't need an SSN.